Hello everybody, Dante Rosary back with another video log. It's going to be number 3 in the series so far. I hope you guys are enjoying them. I'm having pretty good fun talking about some stuff. Speaking of which, I just listened to an episode of Twist, This Week in Science, and heard something very interesting that I think could very much be controversial in the future when it actually starts to do it, but it's going to be genes. So I'm not a geneticist. I'm not what they call it, a synthetic biologist is I think what the technical term for what these people are and what they're doing. But basically, from what I know, it's either, I think it's DNA. The genes have 4 letters, and they added 2 new ones, X and Y, and they always go hand in hand, so one is always opposed to the other as far as on which side of the genome it is. And they actually were able to, in bacteria, not in like anything significant, but they were able to introduce these 2 new genes, these 2 new letters of DNA into this bacteria, and it was able to reproduce it without any flaws, and it was able to create a protein. Now, it was really just junk DNA, but they added a new synthetic genome to the DNA. That has some amazing opportunity as far as like medical breakthroughs possibly, where you have a gene, or like maybe even like a bacteria. We could train, say, a bacteria to track or to go after what they used as an example was plastics. Like you could introduce something that could track and eat plastic, or you could say do that to track and eat cancer cells. Basically that could be a breakthrough in cancer research and being able to fight cancer that way. I've heard other things with like bees down in like Brazil or something like that, with their venom can actually do some stuff with cancer research too. But for right now, we're going to stick with the genes right now. And this is really, really interesting because, I mean, you're going into the territory of modification, gene modification, basically. Enhancements or different things like that. That's what's kind of going in that territory. And that's kind of, from what I know right now with the FCC and everything like that, they're really like getting down on no genome like modifications, because then you can basically create whatever kind of baby you want, whatever hair, eye color, if you want them to be good at music, if you want to, you basically go through an assortment of what you want your kid to basically have, and there you go. Gene modification, that's it right there. But this is pretty significant stuff if you really think about what you could do in program. And one of the things that they had talked about was information. As far as information, being able to put data, movies, or even this little podcast. You'd be able to put information like that in DNA and have it be a storage device, basically, of information. Now that in itself is significant, as far as even doing like a organic, like drive type of thing. You're talking about organic drives that basically can live, and it lives as long as it wants, but it's able to store massive amounts of data on its DNA, which it wouldn't hurt it, I'm guessing. Kind of where the research comes in, but. Yeah, this is really, really big stuff. That was, when I heard that, I was like, wow, how am I not hearing about this on the news? How is this not like newsworthy that they were able to add like 2 new letters without it messing up? Like it was successful. It was successfully done in bacteria, which is a living organism. So that's it right there. The next step is, going up the food chain type of thing. But that's, I think that it has its goods and its bads. You're looking into that gene modification, and You know, that's this right here. This was what it sounds like in, like all the zombie apocalypse books. Is like, bam, gene modification, zombies. Like 2 weeks later, freaking biters come and get you. But so I really don't think it can really go into that aspect. I am one, as a Marine. I have thought of and have figured out different ways to survive the zombie apocalypse type of thing. But I'm more just of a. I wouldn't classify myself as a prepper, but I have food and I have water just in case. I mean, it's even for like for Vegas, it's flash floods. We get flash floods here fairly regularly actually, and that could knock out power for the week or something like that. So it's always nice to be prepared. Preppers, be prepared. So, but back onto genes. There's me getting onto another topic and everything like that. But it's very exciting actually, because I mean that's with the medical breakthroughs that you could think of. I mean that realistically is like a cure-all if they're able to program genes to do certain stuff in different bacteria and different viruses. You basically have viruses that can go in and kill other viruses, and we have good bacteria in our system, so why can't we reprogram our good bacteria to not only do what it's doing now, but to go after other stuff. And that was one thing they said, is that what they just did now wasn't really a modification, it was an addition. So they didn't change anything. Like they didn't change, they just added something. Really what they did was they added junk. It was basically nothing as far as now. I'm sure that they have to do more research to really see if what they added actually did something significant. But as far as it stands right now, they added more or less junk to see if it could be reproduced synthetically, and that's synthetically programming genes. I mean, that's if you would have even mentioned that 100 years ago, you'd be like freaking burned as a witch or something. Probably not that long, but yeah, I mean that's a significant gain to what we're doing like right now. That's pretty impressive. I mean, I always talk about technology as far as our phones. When I was growing up, it was floppy disk era. Cell phones were just getting. I remember getting my first Nokia phone like this big, had Snake on it. That was awesome. And like just before that was pagers. I was like just missed that era, like by like a year or two, maybe even less than that. But yeah, I mean it's crazy how fast technology has grown. It's pretty interesting to see, and it'll be interesting to see where they take this too. If they're going to go into maybe the medical side and be able to program that way, or if they're going to do maybe the data side and do like organic hard drives and stuff. That would be pretty interesting too. I mean that would expand a lot more stuff that we could do with computers and with robotics, with artificial intelligence going into cars, and all of that big stuff, those big names. It's going to be interesting, and I definitely am going to be following it. Just kind of for the record, I do get a lot of my science and tech stuff from podcasts on iHeartRadio. Little shout out to them. I listen to them pretty much every day. I listen to Twit for This Week in Tech for all my tech news. This Week in Science, I listen for science news, and then I have other talk shows for law, and then some news stuff, but that's kind of here or there. Don't really want to go into politics or newsworthy-ish stuff like that. I do want to help support net neutrality. I will throw that out there. I am a big supporter of net neutrality. For me trying to get into vlogging and gaming commentary, and trying to get my stuff out in YouTube and stuff like that. That's YouTube and Facebook and all the other stuff. But starting out, that's when you need net neutrality, and it's really going to be a problem when it goes away. I'm hoping it doesn't go away, but I think December 14th tomorrow is when they vote on it. And I imagine it's probably going to go away, which kind of sucks. And we'll see how it goes. I mean, that's all we can do. I mean, that's the biggest thing right now for net neutrality. You know, I'm kind of getting off the topic of genes, but that's really kind of all I wanted to talk about with that was, you know, just how impressive that it could get to, and kind of what they're doing just the breakthrough itself is, I think, newsworthy. I think that should be like frontline news right now, but, you know, hey, what do I know? But a little bit with net neutrality, you know, it'd be really nice to be able to keep it like this, and I'd be okay with it not being there or not going into that tier 2 or not having that tier 2 status if there were more options. Right now I live in Vegas. I live in a really populated community, but, you know, I kind of have ambitions. I'm thinking about maybe moving to the country in North Carolina where my dad lives, and that's like boondocks right there. A big fan of nature, so I'd love to do that, you know, maybe 10, 15 years from now, and I'm closer to retirement age. You know, I'm not that old yet, but, you know, that's something I would love to do, you know, move out to the country and like get a farm, just stuff like that, grow my own food type of thing. But net neutrality would be really hard for new stuff, new inventive stuff too. And, you know, you're really killing the market with inventive ideas when you kill net neutrality. And in the like social networking era and the telecommunication era, you know, that's YouTube wouldn't be here, Facebook wouldn't be here, Google wouldn't be here. You know, all those different things wouldn't even be around if net neutrality wasn't there. I mean, if net neutrality wasn't there, those companies wouldn't be around. The bigger AT&Ts and stuff, they would have just bought them out, sold out their companies and stuff like that, and just taken them over. That's just how it would have went. And if we had more options and more podunk towns like that don't have as many people, and there's places out there you only have one option. You know, I think they said 70% will have 2 options, and 60% of that only have 1 option for internet. That's it. You just have, you're at the mercy. Like, you're at their mercy when they say, you know, if you want to use Netflix now, which is one of the things, you want to use Netflix, you have to pay another $10 to get that package or whatever for their internet. You know, that's where everybody's. That's the dark side to it. As far as net neutrality goes, I don't really know what a good side is to not having net neutrality. You know, I don't even know what the good is. You know, if they could tell us what the positive would be towards not having net neutrality, let me hear it. Because every tech show that I've ever watched, everybody that I've ever talked to has said net neutrality is like the only reason they're here, and that they're able to make a living doing what they're doing and doing what they love, you know, and that's kind of hoping where I'm going to get to. So I am very for net neutrality. I really hope that it sticks around, but I'm not betting on it. I'm not going to take that bet. So yeah, the genes, a little bit of net neutrality. I really hope it passes tomorrow. I hope it stays. I really do. But other than that, that's kind of all I wanted to talk about today, and I hope that you enjoyed this little bit of information you might not hear anywhere else. That's I haven't heard that in any news anywhere else except for This Week in Science, and that was their latest episode that I still need to finish watching, actually. But I like all their stuff. If you haven't heard them, definitely check it out. I think they're at like 300 or 400 episodes now, so you can go back down the list, and that's a lot of 2.5, 3 hour podcasts right there. So I hope you enjoyed it. This is Dante Rosary, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.